Hey guys! Today we're going to be going over my August TBR. I can't believe we're already heading into August. This year is flying. I feel like I say that every month, but I'm still surprised at how quickly this year is going by. So I'm going to start off with the arc that I have to read this month because this book comes out later and it is a much hyped release, and that is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid is huge. I'm sure you've heard about this book. This follows a character named Carrie Soto, who was actually introduced in Reid's last book, Malibu Rising, and she is a tennis star whose star is kind of faded. She retired, and her world record, I think, was recently broken by someone much younger than her, and she's like, I'm going back into the game to reclaim my title. I'm not much into sports fiction, but I feel like if anyone can make me care about tennis, it's Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love her writing. It's usually a pretty quick read for me as well, and I love her character work, so very much looking forward to reading this. I still kind of can't believe I got approved for an arc, but I'm very excited to dive in. Next, we have a couple newer releases that I have ordered but aren't here yet. The first being The Daughter of Dr Moreau by Silvia Moreno Garcia. She's an auto-buy author for me. At this point, I will pretty much read everything she puts out, but I am very excited for this one. It's a retelling of The Island of Dr Moreau by, I believe, H.G. Wells. There's going to be a lot of, animal-human hybrid experimentation going on if it sticks pretty true to the original story in that regard. And this obviously follows the daughter of the titular Dr. Moreau, and I'm very excited to see what Silvia Moreno Garcia does with this story. The only real experience I have with this story, I haven't read the source material, obviously, but I did read, what was that Theodora Goss book? The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. That's what it was. And that kind of follows a character that is related to Dr. Moreau. I think she was an animal experiment or something as well. That story was fun, but I'm very, like I said, much looking forward to Silvia Moreno Garcia's take on this. I'm sure the writing will be lush and beautiful and fantastical. Then we have These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan. This is the follow-up and conclusion of These Hollow Vows duology. I don't know if it has actually a different name than that. The first book was called These Hollow Vows. And this is very much like an ACOTAR vibe sort of story. We follow a girl who hates Fae initially, but gets wrapped up in some Fae drama, including a love triangle. I read These Hollow Vows very shortly after binging the ACOTAR series, and there's definitely a lot of parallels, but if you're looking to kind of scratch that itch, this is very much that. But I did think there was some really interesting sort of takes on that sort of story. I'm very excited to read the conclusion of this. The last book, the ending had my jaw on the floor, and it's not a critically good time, but it's a fun time, you know? Sometimes you just need a really fluffy fantasy romance story with a little bit of drama, and this kind of checks that box. So I'm very excited. I did order the UK edition to match my Fairy Loot edition more closely. I didn't get the Fairy Loot edition of the second book because I think they were having issues with the sprayed edges and stuff, and I didn't get it in time, so I'll just get the regular UK edition. It's also beautiful. Now onto the books I do have on hand. First and foremost, Spy Family. I'm obsessed. I read volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4 sort of this last month and the end of June, and I love this story so much. I love this quirky little family. The series is incredibly popular right now, but in case you haven't heard of it, it follows a spy whose codename is Twilight, but he's going by Lloyd for the purposes of this mission. He is assigned a mission in which he has to get close to this leader of a rival government to sort of maintain the peace between their two countries. And in order to do so, he has to adopt a child and have his kid get close to the other guy's kid so that they can finally meet. And in the process, he also ends up kind of having to get a wife as well to sell the story a little bit better. And all these characters should not work together, but they do. They're fabulous. The wife is also an assassin, and the daughter is a telepath. There's a lot of secrets between the three of them, but there's also a lot of love. Like, you can see how they genuinely start to really care about one another, even though Lloyd tells himself it's just for the assignment. You can tell he has a lot of affection for his bizarre little family. And it's so fun. This has one of the best characters I've read in a manga series in a really long time, Anya. I don't think she's on any of these covers, actually, but she's got pink hair and she's just precious. And I'm very much looking forward to binging the rest of the series that is currently published. I think 7 came out earlier this year, and I believe 8 also comes out, I think, at the end of this year. So I'm hoping that's right, because I'm obsessed, and I've also binged the first season of the anime with my boyfriend, and it's just so precious. Like, it just makes me smile and laugh, and that's my favorite kind of manga series. Next up, we have the first in a series of fantasy romances, and that is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This, I want to say, is like recently published, but also not really, because this whole series I think was self-published, and then Orbit picked it up and they're starting to republish them now. So this is the recently published Orbit edition, and I think the second book was just released this month as well, but I wanted to dive into the first one. I've read that this is like kind of Pride and Prejudice, but like fantasy a little bit, so I'm really excited about that. It's a Regency romance that deals with fae, and our main character was cursed to only have half a soul, I guess, and she feels no shame. And if you've read any historical romances or fiction, or you've watched Bridgerton or Pride and Prejudice, you will know that that is kind of risque, because the culture of this time is really all about propriety, and if you don't feel shame, you're not going to be a very proper young lady. So I am very excited to read this. I've heard really good things, and it seems like a really fun time, so I'm hoping to love it, and if I do, I'll probably pick up the second volume as well. Still working on my Goodreads Want to Read backlist project, and next up is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Haro. I've had this book for so long. I keep wanting to read this author, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. I love this cover, by the way. Like, this is so gorgeous. I have heard kind of, like, mixed things about this book. I feel like the people that really love it, like, love it, and the people that, like, it doesn't work for hate it. So I'm curious to see where I'll land, but it'll feel good to finally get this off my want to read list. And again, I've just been hanging on to it for a really long time, so gotta get to it. I literally have no idea it's been so long since I picked this up, I have forgotten what this is supposed to be about. I believe that, yeah, the main character's name is January, and she lives in a sprawling mansion filled with peculiar treasures, and she is a curiosity herself. She's the ward of a wealthy man, and she finds a strange book, and the book, I believe, leads to doors or something. I don't know. I think this is a portal fantasy. I'm excited to see. I do know it's a standalone. And I do also have Alex E. Haro's first book in her, like, novella series. I think it's called A Spindle Splintered, so I want to read that as well, like, soon-ish. So I'm hoping to really like her writing, because I do have a couple books by her now. Side note on my Goodreads Want to Read backlist project, I still have The Starless Sea as well from a couple months back. I wasn't able to get to it then. It's still on my, like, I gotta read these soon kind of pile by my bed, and I am intending on reading it soon. I just don't have, like, a set plan for it yet, so hopefully you will see that in a wrap-up soon-ish as well. And then finally, I have a library book that I'm really excited about. I've been really resisting the urge to buy this book, and if I do love it, I'll probably end up buying it anyways, but I'm trying to avoid buying books brand new. I've been trying to pick up pre-owned only, with the exception of some, like, pre-orders and stuff for books that I know I'm gonna love. Anyways, I digress. Remarkably Bright Creatures is the book that I'm talking about by Shelby Van Pelt. I've heard really good things about this book. I don't know a lot about it other than, like, a woman ends up kind of connecting with an octopus at an aquarium, I'm assuming. Yeah, so the little blurb says, it's a charming, witty, and compulsively readable exploration of friendship, reckoning, and hope that traces a widow's unlikely connection with a giant Pacific octopus. So it does deal with a little bit with, like, grief. The main character is a widow. She's recently lost her husband, and she has recently begun working at the night shift at the local aquarium. Something about this octopus, just, they connect. Cephalopods are really intelligent creatures, so I'm very excited to see how their relationship forms and develops, and how getting to know this giant octopus helped her through her grief. I've heard that this book is really charming, and the reviews I've seen for this have been absolutely excellent, so I'm really hoping to love it. Also, like, this cover is just so bright and summery to me. I adore it. And that wraps up my August TBR. I feel like it's a little shorter this time, but I'm also trying to make it a little bit more manageable. We'll see how that goes. I'm also trying to leave some room for more impulse reads and mood reading as well. Stephanie, let me know what you want the buddy read for this month to be. We didn't really discuss that beforehand. Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to follow my socials down in the description box below, like this video, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, have a lovely day. Bye!